This is the best team for Game Week 33, and in this video I will explain why. I'm Sakafusi, your personal data analyst, and we're heading into the biggest double game week of the season, Game Week 33, which is followed by the biggest blank game week, the Game Week 34. That's why in this video it will be a bit different. We will analyze the remaining game weeks separately by splitting them into three blocks. The first block will be Game Week 33, the second will be Game Week 34, and the final block will cover the period from Game Week 35 to Game Week 38. We'll look at the best players for each of these three distinct blocks. We will start by looking at the overall picture of the league so far at the team level. Data that will help us estimate the difficulty of the upcoming fixtures. As you can see in this chart, based on expected goals, Arsenal, Manchester City and Chelsea have had the best attacks in the league so far, meanwhile the best defense based on expected goals conceded belongs to Arsenal. Based on this data, we can estimate the probability of a team keeping a clean sheet in Game Week 33. The teams with the highest chances of keeping a clean sheet are Leeds United and Manchester City, both with around a 70% probability of keeping at least one clean sheet in Game Week 33. Arsenal, facing Newcastle United, has a 43% clean sheet probability in Game Week 34, which is the highest for that specific matchup. Overall, across the next 5 game weeks, Arsenal projects as the best defensive team with an expectations of around 2.2 clean sheets in the next 5 matches. Similarly, we can estimate how many goals each team is expected to score over the next 5 game weeks compared to their current averages. This helps us evaluate fixture difficulty going forward. For Game Week 33, naturally, the teams with a double game week are expected to score the most goals. For example, Leeds United plays against Wolves and Bournemouth with a fixture difficulty rating of 2.13. This means that if they typically score 1 goal in a normal game week, in this double game week, we expect them to score around 2.13 goals. Looking further ahead, up to around game week 37, Leeds has an attacking difficulty of 1.36. In other words, they are expected to score 36% more goals than usual, indicating a very favorable run of fixtures against weaker defenses. Now, let's move to individual player stats, starting with the goalkeepers. In this chart, the further to the right a player is, the more saves they make per match. We can see that the furthest to the right is Martin Dubravka from Burnley, which is not a surprise given Burnley's poor defensive performance. Also positioned far to the right is Marmadashvili, I can't say this name, from Liverpool, who makes over 3 saves per game, something quite unusual for a Liverpool goalkeeper. On the vertical axis, the lower a player is, the fewer expected goals they concede. As you can see, by a significant margin, the goalkeeper conceding the fewest expected goals is David Raya from Arsenal. If we convert these stats into fantasy Premier League points, we see that David Raya is the best goalkeeper option from Game Week 35 to Game Week 38, with an expected return of 15.7 points. However, as you can see, the gap between him and the rest of the goalkeepers is not particularly large. So it wouldn't be unreasonable for someone to go with a different goalkeeper if they don't fully trust Arsenal's defense or if they prefer a cheaper option for that position. Now let's move to the defenders. In this chart, the further to the right a player is, the more attacking they are based on expected goals and expected assists per 90 minutes. The furthest to the right are players from Crystal Palace, Edge City, Daniel Munoz and O'Reilly. On the vertical axis, the lower a player is, the fewer expected goals they have conceded, which means higher probability of a clean sheet. And as expected by a significant margin, the lower player here are all Arsenal defenders. The defenders marked with a green dot are those who register more than 10 defensive contributions per match. If defenders maintain their current performance, from Game Week 35 to Game Week 38, the best defender is Gabriel, who is projected to score 22.6 points over that period. Let's briefly explain how to read this table using Gabriel as an example. In the first column, price, we see his cost. Next, we have his ownership percentage, which is 41.4%. We also see that he plays for Arsenal. His expected minutes are 90, meaning he is expected to play full matches. He has 0.08 expected goals per game and 0.07 expected assists per game. Defensively, he concedes just 0.68 expected goals per match and registers 9.3 defensive contributions per game. Finally, we see his expected points. From these stats, it's clear that what makes him stand out as it is his clean sheet potential, as he is among the best players with the lowest expected goals conceded, alongside Timber, who also plays for Arsenal. What gives Gabriel the edge over Timber is that he also has slightly higher defensive contributions, meaning he's more likely to earn bonus points from those actions. Also ranking highly in the projections is Canvot from Crystal Palace. For the first time this season, he has been starting regularly in recent matches and stands out due to his 12.3 defensive contributions per game, a very high number that almost guarantees bonus points whenever he plays. He's something like Senesi. Now let's move to the midfielders. In this chart, the further to the right a player is, the higher their expected goals. However, we're not just looking season averages here, because form plays a major role for midfielders. The numbers you see are a combination of their season averages and their recent form. The furthest to the right is Sade from Brentford with just over 0.4 expected goals per 90 minutes. Also ranking highly in expected goals are Gordon, Palmer and other midfielders. On the vertical axis, the higher a player is, the more expected assists they produce by a significant margin. The highest player on the chart is Bruno Fernandes, of course, the king of assists. Midfielders shown in bold are their team's penalty takers, while those marked with a green dot are players with more than 12 defensive contributions per 90 minutes, meaning they are very likely to earn bonus points from those actions. If midfielders maintain performances, then from game week 35 to game week 38, the best midfielder is Bruno Fernandes of Manchester United, who is projected to score almost 27 points during that period. Now, let's move on to the forwards. The further to the right a player is, the higher their expected goals. Again, taking into account the recent form, we can see that the farthest to the right, very close to each other, are João Pedro, Thiago, Haaland and Welbeck. Among these four, João Pedro is the only one who does not take penalties for his team. As a result, when we look at expected points, the top three are Erling Haaland, Thiago and Welbeck, while João Pedro ranks slightly lower. Even though he has similar expected goals, he misses out on the additional value from penalties. So the best forwards for the final stretch of the season is Haaland, who is projected to score around 25 points from game week 35 to game week 38. Very close to him, almost equal, is Thiago from Brentford. As we said, we are in a special situation where the upcoming game week is a double, and most of us will either use a chip or make transfers specifically targeting this scenario. That's why we will look separately at the expected points for game week 33. Here we can see the top 20 players based on expected points for the upcoming game week. We can see that the best forwards are Haaland, Welbeck, and Calvert-Lewin and Pedro. The best midfielders are Palmer, Semenyo and Tavernier. And the best defenders are Gay, Struijk and other defenders. In my opinion, these 20 players from this pool, we should pick from them in order to build our team for this game week. These are the top options, and we need to use them wisely to create the best possible squad for double game week 33. It's very important game week, as it can either massively boost our rank or, if we get it wrong, do the exact opposite. In this video, I've also included ownership percentages. If you're chasing rank, it might be a good idea to go for a low ownership players such as Fleming from Burnley or Hinshelwood from Brighton, both of whom have under 1% ownership right now. Almost no one will own them in the double game week, so if things go your way, they could give you a huge boost. That said, The best player for the double game week appears to be Erling Haaland, making him the top captaincy option. Equally important is the blank game week 34 that comes right after, so we will look at it separately as well. These are the top 20 players for game week 34, so keep this table in mind when planning your team. As we mentioned in the previous video, this is the time to use our chips. There are a few popular strategies. Some of you may have already used your wildcard and will play your bench boost in this game week, so you will need to build the best possible squad for game week 33. Others might use their free hit now or save it for game week 34. Whatever your strategy is, these are the 20 best players for both game weeks. Take a screenshot of these tables, you will need them when planning your team. Now that you've watched this video, you understand why this is the best possible one for game week 33. These 15 players are the best you can have, with a small asterisk on Joao Pedro, who according to our model ranked slightly below Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the projections. However, I choose to include Joao Pedro because from experience we know that Calvert-Lewin tends to underperform his expected goals. So a model like mine, which relies heavily on expected goals, can fail when a player is such a clear outlier. That said, keep in mind that another reason that model ranks Calvert-Lewin higher is because it projects more minutes from him. That's not unreasonable considering that Joao Pedro is sometimes subbed off early or doesn't start at all, as Chelsea has other strong options in that position. Thank you for watching this video, good luck with your team, and may you get a lot of green arrows.